On this episode, I got a few things I want to address and talk about. I'm going to be upgrading a Redcat ground pounder to a Castle SCT 3800 short course package brushless combo. In this, I have been running a Traxxas VXL with no issues, but I'm just wondering how much this is going to hold up to with the more power of more torque on the 4-pole system. I will be swapping that out. But before I go any further, I would like to give a shout out and a thanks to Holmes Hobbies. I purchased a Trailmaster 2700 kV for one of my trail trucks through RPP Hobbies from them. And after installing the setup and motor into the truck, I had some issues with some cogging and stuff. I had bench tested a few other motors in it to determine it wasn't the speed control. I thought it was pretty much going to be a sensor issue, and that's what it ended up being. I called them off the number from their website, spoke with a gentleman named Justin, explained to him what was going on. He recommended that I take and mail it back under the warranty that the motor had. I got the waterproof edition, so I sent it back to them, and within a week I had a brand new one back at my house, and I emailed them asking what it was just to confirm, and they had notified and let me know that through email that it was the bad sensor, so they just sent me a new one. But they bench tested this one to be sure everything was fine, and overall the customer service with Holmes Hobbies is by far the best that I've ever dealt with. I've had some issues with some Tekin and Novak products where emailing their customer service and never get a response back, and try to call and never can get hold of anybody. So if you are into the hobby of the crawling and trailing and stuff and looking for a good brushless company to go with, the Holmes Hobbies products, they stand behind their product. This was still within the warranty period, so there was no questions asked. And as far as an aspect of the hobby where the customer service is there for the customers, I felt that they were. So check them out. They've got a website, Holmes Hobbies. Lot of interesting things on their webpage and stuff. They got stuff for crawlers, and they do other things as well for some bicycles and such. Check them out. So I just want to give a shout out and a thanks and a much appreciation to Holmes Hobbies on that. Now, to what I've got going on with this. Like I said, this is a Redcat ground pounder. I did some trading to pick this up. I was kind of curious on this. My passion is clodbusters when it comes to the rear control monster trucks. I've had clodbusters pretty much the whole time I've been in the hobby. I remember being a little kid the first time I saw one. It was like, wow, this is so big, and was always amazed with them. And excuse me, now that they are starting to make other monster trucks and stuff, the shaft drive just kind of had my attention. So I, on a Facebook page, saw a gentleman he had posted this up for sale. I messaged him, asked him how firm he was on selling it or if he'd be interested in trading it. I ended up working out a deal where I traded a pretty much brand new clodbuster without the body rolling chassis for this as a roller. This had a few upgrades on it. You have to excuse the truck's a little bit dirty. I've been running it. It did not come with these rims and tires. It just came as a slider. My bad, I said roller, but this came to me as a slider. But it does have some aluminum axle braces on it. That is to help strengthen and sturdy your axles when you're jumping and whatever. And it also gives you a place for your shocks to mount to and your lower links. And I can already tell by far that for what little I've run this, they are a must for an upgrade. Nothing against Redcat, but their plastic is soft, and I can tell that. So I will be monitoring the other few plastic parts that are on here as I run it. But so far I've run not the Castle, my bad. So far I've run the Traxxas VXL setup in it. No issues handling the power. It does fine. I did have to put some Loctite. This has the upgraded Redcat drive shaft in the rear, and they've got a weird metal thing that threads into it. I had to add some Loctite to that because it kept backing out. I still have the stock plastic one in the front. It's done alright. I'm going to be pulling it out to put another metal one in the front though, because I got a feeling after I switch to this, the Castle system in it, that the extra torque, I don't know that the plastic is going to hold up onto it, because my experience with other things that I run Castle products in, the 4-pole stock plastic just doesn't usually cut it real well. But I don't see any of the gears having an issue holding up to the power, so it's going to be something I'm going to try. I will open this. I got this brand new in a appreciation drawing, so that was nice. Open it up. Get all your paperwork and stuff with it. This is going to be the speed control box on. Yeah. The one thing that I'm not sure with this is if I will be able to mount the fan with the motor or not, because it mounts underneath. I don't know if I have room to mount it upside down and have clearance with the upper links. I'm not thinking so, and I don't think there's enough gaps. So the fan on this, it's not going to be able to get used. But speed control, on the other hand, I am going to use the speed control, and it is the newer model waterproofed SCT Sidewinder edition. It's got a fan on the speed control. Waterproofing is nice. I don't see myself submerging this, but I may run it in some snow, or I may run it when it's raining or wet outside, but never fully submerging it like I would one of my crawlers. And the motor that I'm going to put in it, which I actually love these motors from Castle. It's the favorite motor of all theirs that I've had. It's the 3800 kV. I've got one that I run in an Axial Exoterra, and I have beat with that motor for 2 years now, and never an issue, not had any problems whatsoever. So I'm confident putting this in here, it's going to be fine. The combo says, let me recall, I think it says not for a truck up to 6.5 pounds. I think with this whole truck, I'm right at the 6 pound mark, but I'm only going to be running 2S in this, so everything should handle it just fine. So I'm going to start by taking this out, and you all will get to journey with me a little bit and see. If you don't have one of these, you'll get to see how the motor's mounted in here and how it's held into place. Or if you have one and never taken the motor out, you'll get to see how much fun these are to work on. It's really not that bad. It's a different concept than other motor mounting systems that I've used. What they do is they have an aluminum plate that your motor mounts to, and you got your 2 screws here. Mount your motor in there, slide it up to the mounting plate up on the chassis, get your screws started, slide it in to set your gear mesh and tighten it down, and then you're good to go there. So let me go ahead and pop this motor off. It's a fairly quick process as far as just changing the motor out. That was a little tight. There's definitely some room and stuff to reach in there. I left the tire off on this side, so while videoing, I have had access to get my hand up in there. You don't have to take the tire off. It just made it easier for me. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're mounting this on there, when you're putting your motor in there, is the motor sits underneath a plate here, so you don't want your wires. Keep in mind that the 2 holes here are going to be up in the top, so you don't want your motor wires up at the top like that. I will set it to where they're kind of downwards off to the side a little bit, and then I can run them and use some zip ties to hold them up to some chassis braces to keep them secured and out of the way. Just tighten that screw in. And this motor mount only has, there's no room for adjusting the motor on the actual mount itself. So all you do is find the holes, screw it in, just as simple as that. There's nothing else you can do there, and no way to do it wrong. And then when you got that done, you're going to have that. So with this matter of a few moments, I already swapped the motor out. Now what I want to do is put this up here and see where my pinion's going to lay here. I am running a 22 tooth pinion. I could actually go down a tooth or two and be fine. I'm not running the stock one on it. But I felt with the 22 tooth with the VXL, it gave me a decent amount of torque, good wheel speed. And my run times were good. Nothing was overheating, nothing was compromised. Let me just make another adjustment on that, slide it back just a hair. Now for this part, I don't know how I can do this where you all can see what I'm doing, but I will tilt the truck up and show you all real quick before I do it. Let me get something to point with. Right there where I'm setting my wrench at, there's that whole big slot open there. That is where your motor mounting plate screws are going to go through. You just take and slide your motor in there, line those holes up, put the screws in, get them started, but don't crank or tighten them down because you're going to have to set your gear mesh, and you want to be sure that your pinion is out far enough as well, or not too pulled too far in either. This here is the only slightly tedious part, is getting it started initially. But once you can get one screw started, it's not bad at all. And just take your time with starting a screw. If it's not wanting to thread smoothly, back it out and don't go any farther, just due to the fact that it is going into an aluminum plate. And like I've mentioned in other videos, aluminum is very easy to cross thread and strip. And I got the first one started. Now to get the second one started, and once I get that taken care of, I'll be on my way. The only thing I'll have left to do, I'll have to figure out where I'm going to mount the speed control, which there's plenty of room up above the motor on this plate to mount your electronics. So location for that is not going to be an issue. The Newcastle speed controls don't come with a battery in, so I will be soldering a Dean's connector on that. I may or may not do a second video with that, just to show some people that might be new to the hobby that are looking for some soldering tips and techniques. Alright, and this one's not wanting to cooperate with me. There's a little bit of room on these trucks, but not a whole lot. Let me get that hole lined up and get it started, and then I'll be good. Alright, that looks like at this point I have both motor mount screws started. Now that I've got them started, I just want to check and be sure that they're straight and nothing's cross-threading. And it looks like I'm good there, so I can snug them down. These screws are kind of long, so it takes a little bit to get them tightened in. If you're still watching this, I appreciate you taking the time to sit through this. I know sometimes the build aspects and stuff in a video can be rather boring to some, but to others, if you learn something from it or just enjoy watching me make the mistakes, it's well worth it. Alright, check my pinion. It is going to be meeting up, looks like just perfect with the spur. So now I'll show you what I was talking about on this. You can see the motor can behind there. I've got a screw there and a screw there, or bolt actually. That is where the motor mount plate is connected there. And to set the gear mesh, my hand in the way doesn't help. The motor went from, I had the motor up here, you slide it down, now the motor's sitting down here, you slide it down, hold the motor flat, it's hard to do the paper trick for those of you all that are used to setting your gear mesh with the paper. But doing it long enough, you can turn by hand. You can look and see there's a slot through there that'll allow you to see it. Gear mesh looks fine on this, but also where I had it tightened down the last time, it left marks in the top plate where the bolts were. So I know that the gear mesh is going to be fine on this. Then just tighten it down and it's good to go like that. Now, like I said, the motor wires, don't want them in the way of anything. And after looking at this, I said I wasn't going to use the fan. I will double check one more time to be sure that there's nowhere to mount this fan before I rule that out completely. And there's not. By the time the suspension would compress, it would just bump and rub it or hit it or crush it. So I'm not going to run that. I will open up a new bag of zip ties here real quick though, so I can keep my wires up out of the way. That's a key thing, is running your electronics clean. I used to be in the bad habit of rushing to get things done and just want to go run them right away and not always put my wires where they needed to be. And it's cost me a few pieces of electronics here and there in the past. I was making a comment about zipping it to the bar there, but I think I'm just going to go to the plate that the motor mounts on. That looks like the closest place to keep it cleaner. And then after I mount the speed control up on here, I may run another zip tie to shorten the wires up some. Well, not really shorten, just bunch them up a little bit so they're not as much wire exposed and all over the place. And that one's a little bit of a tight spot to do the zip tie right here. That's the issue I'm running into. But I brought some long needle nose pliers to the workbench with me. Would have made this part a little easier, but I believe I've got it. There we go. Just cinch that up some. I don't want to go too tight to where it's pinching the wires into the plate. I've got room to slide them up and down just a little bit, but they're not going to go on their own. And then trim that up. And those are there, and that's how that'll all plug in there. Like that. I'm not sure if I got the color combinations right, but I'm just giving you all an idea. And down here, good deal, I've got a place on the chassis itself to mount an on-off switch, so I can have it down here on the side. I can mount speed control there and then bring the wires down. So I've got plenty of room to mount my electronics here in this. I'll be able to put my speed control there. I can clean my wires up and have them away from the chassis frames itself, or they'll be up against the chassis frame, but they won't be exposed above it. If I was to ever run this without a body or have a body that had the bed cut out of it. And then, actually I have one on both sides. Little plate right there for an on-off switch. Got one on that side, one on that side. So I'm good to go on that aspect as well. I can put it on either side that I want, and that'll be nice. I won't have a on-off switch bouncing all over the place or having to use a double-sided tape. I hate taping them up and then they fall loose. And then I've got a place right here to mount my receiver. All in all, for a shaft-driven truck, I have enjoyed running this. It has been a fun truck. Haven't run it brushed, but no need to. I run majority of my stuff brushless now anyways. But like I said, this truck handled the VXL just fine. I will get this truck finished up and will probably, within the next few days, weather depending, try to get a video of it actually running with this system. If, well, as soon as I run it the first time, I'll just take the camera, hook it up, and get a video of it running so you can see whether it holds up or not. And I believe that's going to conclude for this video. Thank you for taking the time to watch, and hope you all have learned anything from it. If you have any tips that might help me better with this, please feel free to share it. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to ask. And once again, I want to give a thanks to Holmes Hobbies for replacing the motor and doing everything right for me with this. I am very thankful for that. So everybody have a good day. Thank you.